Yo, what's up, y'all? It's the MMA Analyst here to do my preview for Strikeforce Fedor versus Silva. Last minute video here. It is what it is. Really excited to see Fedor get back in the ring after his loss against Rosario-Johnson. Which should be a very telling fight between Andrei Arlovski and Sergei Kharitonov, and then a bunch of heavyweight Grand Prix reserve bouts, which I pray have absolutely no impact or needed interference with this tournament. So I'm just gonna break down the main event that's what I'm really gonna get into, a little bit on Arlovski and Kharitonov, and then I'll just make my picks for the rest with maybe some little insights or whatnot. Fedor Emelianenko versus Antonio Silva. We all know who Fedor is. We all know who he's been. The question is, what is he now? Was his loss to Verdum, was it just him finally getting caught? Fedor's whole career, he's said, I do what I want to do in the ring. I'll do what I want to do in the cage. If you're a Crow Cop, I'll strike with you. If you're Nogueira, I'll go to the ground with you. If you're a good striker, if you're bigger than me, it doesn't matter what you are, I'll just swarm you with punches. I do what I do. I'll grapple with, Olympic gold medal winners, for judo winners. It just doesn't matter what your strength is. I'm going to go and I'm going to beat you. That's what he's done. That's what he did for basically 10 years. Then, Rosario-Johnson, he thought he rocked him. Verdum happily went to his back. Fedor happily jumped into the guard and was as reckless as he's always been, but this time he got caught. And the reckless isn't a negative. When you're winning nonstop and you're beating some of the best in the world, if your skill set allows you to do whatever you want and get you out of situations like getting slammed on your head by Kevin Randleman and submitting him 30 seconds later, or getting rocked and submitting a minute later, or being in a tight situation with Arlovski and then knocking him out in a split second, that's what you do. But this time it didn't work. So the question at this point is it he got caught in this situation, or is it he will now get caught? A lot of people don't realize fighters can age overnight, or at least that's what it looks like. Something's working, something's working, something's working, and then it never works again. So who knows what's going on with Fedor? This fight will likely tell a big story. Antonio Bigfoot Silva on the other side, very big, very big. 6'4", weighs around 260, really good on the ground. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's strong. His striking's improved. Up until his loss loss to Rosario-Johnson in 2009, he was really showing a lot of promise, and since then has come back to show that promise again. In his last fight against Mike Pyle, he was in some trouble and got out of it, weathered the storm, and holds a 15-2 record. Oh damn, baby's going crazy. The only thing that is happening here with Antonio Bigfoot Silva, it's his one loss to, well, he has two losses, one back to Eric Pele in like 2006, but recently is he gassed. And he was winning the fight in the first round and went on to gas, lose energy. Rosario-Johnson showed his own resilience at the time and came back to defeat Antonio Silva. But with all of that said, Fedor should win this fight. He's better at striking. His ground and pound is nasty. And I hate when people say, if so-and-so can do this, then so-and-so can do this. But in his last fight, he got rocked by Mike Pyle. Fedor always finds a way to rock people. And when Fedor actually rocks you, that's it. You might get rocked and choked out, rocked and some ground and pound, but you cannot afford to get rocked against Fedor. At least up to now, that has been the case. So if Antonio comes out there and he's trying to get a strike on and Fedor swarms on him, I don't necessarily see Silva being able to put out that stay away from me jab. That's a very big thing. Like if it was boxing or people with high level striking, you've got the Fedor hook thrower and he's coming in going crazy, and then the big guy is just kind of like, yo, stay back. I'm not saying he's Lennox Lewis or big ass who are those guys, the Klitschko brothers, just sitting back and popping out the stiff jab and keeping him at a distance. I'm just saying that would be a very, very big and important tool for him in this fight to avoid what is definitely coming, which is that power up fight. I don't think he's going to have that, though. I think he's going to get swarmed on. I think he's going to get caught, and he's either going to get choked out or TKO'd by some vicious ground and pound. If Fedor loses this fight, he will retire. If Fedor wins this tournament, he will retire. Whenever Fedor is done with this tournament, he will retire. That's what I think. This is the last of Fedor. He's went on a 10-year run. He was the man. He lost to Verdum. He's in this tournament. I think this is his final test for himself. This is his final hurrah for his fans. He wants to go out there and, hopefully he'll beat Antonio Silva. And then, to be honest, Verdum's probably not going to be able to take Overeem. So then he'll go on and take Overeem out. And then in the finals, probably face Barnett and take Barnett. Like, that is a perfect scenario for Fedor fans and for Fedor to just leave. Like, I did my thing. I fought for X amount of years. I've lost 2 times. One of them was legit. I'm like 35-2. It was a great time. You guys do what you want to do. I think that's what happens with Fedor. So, do I want to see Fedor lose his last 2 fights and retire? No. Do I want to see him lose to Verdum and then beat Antonio Silva and then lose to maybe Overeem? No. Do I want to see him get to the finals and somehow lose to Barnett or whoever makes it from the weaker side of the bracket? No. I want to see Fedor do what Fedor has done and win this tournament and then retire. I'm happy with him retiring at that point because he's not going to go to the UFC. So once he doesn't go to the UFC, there's no real reason to really stretch it out. He will have defeated everybody he needed to defeat outside of the UFC. And the guys in the UFC are just beating guys he already beat in the past anyways, other than those new 4 guys that are running around doing their thing. You know who I'm talking about. So, I'm picking Fedor Emelianenko to defeat Antonio Bigfoot Silva, and I'm hoping that he wins all the way out until he retires sometime probably early next year after maybe the finals with Barnett. We'll see if he gets hurt. We'll see if he breaks his hand. We'll see if he loses. We'll see if something happens with Overeem. There's so many problems that could happen with this tournament. I'm just crossing my fingers. Maybe I'm being a little, prayerful and hopeful, but we'll see if I'm being, a little unrealistic. But that's what I'm picking. Fedor for the win and to have maybe 2 fights after that before he retires. Andrei Arlovski versus Sergei Kharitonov. Let's talk about Andrei Arlovski real quick, because a lot of people, I try and like to spread the truth. I don't like to let lies linger. Andrei Arlovski was on a 3-fight winning streak when the UFC let him go because they didn't want to pay him what he thought he deserved. Then he went on to fight Ben Rothwell in Affliction. Ben Rothwell at the time was the IFL champion when it was around. And then he was on a 13-fight winning streak, and he beat Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell went on to go to the UFC. He's been 1-1 and then had some little legal issues, or maybe some big legal issues. Then he fought Roy Nelson, who was on a 5-fight winning streak at the time. Roy Nelson has gone on to go 2-1 in the UFC, and he's just barely outside of the top 10. Some people might have him in the top 10 if he can get another win. So, he was on a 5-fight winning streak, and then he ran into Fedor. Or maybe he jumped. Maybe he flying kneed himself into Fedor's fist. That's it. Since then, this is what Fedor does to people, by the way. He beats you and steals your soul. Nogueira never looked the same after what happened with Fedor. It's just what goes down. Brett Rogers hasn't looked the same. If you lose to Fedor, something happens. It's like you've seen the devil or something, and it gets sucked out of you. He ran in, or Brett Rogers knocked him out after that, and then he went over and he got outstruck by Antonio Bigfoot Silva, which, wow. His problem, no matter what anybody wants to believe, is his jaw or his chin or whatever keeps you awake when you get hit or puts you to sleep when you get hit. And he's been fighting very reserved since then. He's afraid that his jaw or his chin he's afraid it's going to fail him. He doesn't want to put it out there and trade blows, and damn, I can't even trade back because I'm laying on my back. And that's the way he's been fighting against Antonio Silva. That's the reason I believe Silva was able to outstrike him, is because Andrei Arlovski is fighting reserved. It's kind of like if you went into a fight with, holding a glass of water, and you couldn't let water spill over the edges, so you kind of want to do stuff, but you oh snap, damn. I'm not saying that it's as bad as a glass of water in a hand, in a glass, but it's definitely something that has to be on his mind. Now, Sergei Kharitonov on the other side. Sergei Kharitonov, he's fought once a year for the last 4 years. This will be his fight in 2011. He fought once in 2010. He fought once in 2009. And he fought once in 2008. He, in the last, since 2007, not including 2007, is 2-1. He has a win over Sefo-Overeem. It was actually a quite comical win. Ridiculous, actually. And he's actually split it. But this was Overeem, not Ubereem. This is Overeem. Anyways, he has a loss to Jeff Munson just one fight ago, before his win over Tetsuya Mizuno. He has good striking. He has good ground game. A nice sambo wrestling background. But he's a little old now. He has, and by old, I mean he started fighting in the year 2000. He's got 21 fights under his. He had some knee issues. So, yeah, he's been fighting for 11 years now and has not been able to fight at the regularity that he would probably like to because of injuries and whatnot. If this is a prime or Arlovski versus a prime Kharitonov, I think we're in for an amazing fight, but it's not that. It's worried and hesitant Arlovski against slightly withered and damaged Kharitonov. In that situation, I probably have to go with, after thinking about it, I was going to just go with Arlovski, but I think I got to go with Kharitonov here. I think that he manages to get more points, outpoints him. I don't think he gets knocked out. I think that's the way that Arlovski wins, if he wins, is catching him and knocking him out. But I see Arlovski falling prey to his own, holding himself back and not being able to unleash the fists, and really a pretty well-rounded game that he has. And I have Kharitonov winning this bout. Undercard, even though it's not the Grand Prix reserve bouts, Shane Del Rosario, I've got him beating Rosario-Johnson just based on Del Rosario being more well-rounded in general. Rosario-Johnson definitely has knockout power. If you let him hit you, then, wow, you're going to be in trouble. He's a big dude, but Del Rosario is also big. This will be an entertaining fight, I think, as long as it doesn't go too long. If this goes for too long, then we might have two heavy, sloppy heavyweights fighting in the third round. But as big as these guys are and as strong as they hit and punch. I don't think it's going to last that long. I've got Del Rosario by first round. I'm going to say just straight flatline knockout. Chad Griggs over taking on Gianpiero Villante. Chad Griggs is the guy who retired Bobby Lashley. And Villante is a guy that he's fighting. I'm actually going to take Villante in this fight. And Valentine Overeem, the older and now smaller brother of Overeem. Actually, they changed their last names, so, but they're still brothers. Against Ray Sefo. Overeem, always been big. 53 total fights. 16 of his 28 wins by submission. 11 of his 28 wins by knockout. Out of his losses, he's been submitted 15 times, and he's only been knocked out 9 times. I say only been, but you know what I'm saying, right? He's been knocked out less than he's been submitted. Ray Sefo is not going to submit Valentine Overeem. Ray Sefo is, at this point, 2-0. He's training with Extreme Couture. Great striker. Entertaining as hell. Love him in K1. But I don't think he takes this fight. If Overeem decides to trade, then we're going to have a really entertaining fight. It's going to be a lot of Sefo doing what he does. Putting his hands down, moving around. Trying to be that dude. And just kind of like really putting on an entertaining fight and winning if it stays on the feet. If Overeem decides he wants to take this fight to the ground or he wants to do anything other than stay in Ray Sefo's strong game or strong point, then Overeem wins the fight. So that's what I have. I have Fedor winning by first round knockout or TKO. I've got Kharitonov winning by decision. Del Rosario first round knockout. Villante, I don't know, maybe a submission, and then Overeem. How is he gonna win this? I don't think it's gonna go all the way to a decision. If it does, Overeem by decision, but I think he'll probably tire Ray Sefo out before that, and maybe get a submission of his own. Yeah. And then we got a couple weeks, or skip a week. We got some UFC. We've got some more Strikeforce coming up. Man, it's looking good. I can't hate MMA. It's important. Peace.